God doesn't make you wait forever without purpose, and He doesn't move you toward marriage without leaving signs. You have been praying, waiting, trusting, and somewhere deep inside, you are starting to wonder if God even remembers that you exist. What if the very restlessness you feel right now, that deep, unexplainable longing for a partner, it's actually God preparing your heart for something He's already been building behind the scenes? What if everything that has felt like delay was actually delivery in disguise? Marriage is not just a social milestone, it is a covenant God architects with precision, and when He is about to release it into your life, He does not stay silent. He leaves signs, not vague, confusing signals, but clear, undeniable markers that something is shifting in your favor. And if you're watching this today, there's a very real possibility that the season you've been praying for is closer than you think. Number 1. You have stopped running from accountability and started wanting it. There was a version of you that avoided serious relationships because deep down, you did not want anyone that close, anyone who could see the real you, challenge your decisions, or call out your blind spots. But something has changed. You find yourself wanting someone who will tell you the truth even when it is uncomfortable. You are no longer attracted to people who just agree with you. You are drawn to depth, to someone whose opinion of your character actually matters to you. Marriage is the most accountable relationship on earth. It is two people who cannot hide from each other, who must choose each other even after seeing the worst. When God begins drawing you toward that kind of radical transparency rather than away from it, He is doing something surgical in your soul. Proverbs 27 verse 17 says, "Iron sharpens iron, and as one man sharpens another." You are no longer afraid of being sharpened, you are hungry for it. That hunger is not human nature. Human nature avoids discomfort. That hunger is God preparing you for covenant. Number 2. Solitude has stopped feeling like punishment and started feeling like preparation. Most people misread loneliness. They assume that if God loved them, He would not let them sit in silence this long. But the most important assignments in Scripture were preceded by seasons of isolation. Moses in the desert, David in the fields, Paul in Arabia. God does not waste a wilderness. When you reach a point where your alone time is no longer soaked in anxiety, bitterness, or the frantic need to fill silence with noise, when solitude starts to feel like a place where God is actually speaking to you, forming you, showing you who you are outside of a relationship, that is one of the most overlooked signs that marriage is near. Because God will not hand you to someone else until you have first learned who you are when it is just you and Him. That formation is finished work, not ongoing confusion. Number 3. The way you handle conflict has been quietly, radically transformed. Be honest with yourself for a moment. Think about how you responded to disagreement 2 or 3 years ago. The shutting down, the explosions, the walking away, the silent treatment that lasted days. Now think about how you handle tension today. Something is different, isn't it? You pause where you used to react. You listen where you used to dominate. You choose repair over pride. That transformation is not small. It is the kind of inner renovation that takes the intentional hand of God. Marriage without conflict resolution is not marriage. It is a slow destruction. And God knows that. James 1 verse 19 says, "Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger." When God sees that this is becoming your natural posture rather than a forced performance, He knows you are ready to share a life with someone without destroying what He builds. Number 4. You have started to feel a strange, unexplainable urgency to get your house in order. Not in a panicked way, but in a purposeful way. You felt pulled to deal with the debt you've been ignoring. To have the hard conversation you've been avoiding. To finally get serious about your health, your habits, your walk with God. To stop letting years pass as intentions without becoming actions. That urgency has a source. Ruth 3 verse 18 contains some of the most practical wisdom in all of Scripture when Naomi tells Ruth, "Sit still, my daughter, until you know how the matter will fall, for the man will not rest until he has settled the matter today." There is a divine settling that happens right before marriage. God stirs you to get ready not to stress you, but because the appointed time is close enough that readiness is no longer optional. The urgency you feel is preparation. Answer it. Number 5. You have become unusually selective about who gets access to you. There was a time when you gave everyone access. You give your time, your energy, your emotional depth, to people who had not earned it and did not honor it, but something in you has changed now. You have started guarding your inner world, not out of fear or trauma, but out of a growing understanding of your own value. You no longer chase people who are inconsistent. You no longer perform to keep someone interested. You set boundaries not as walls but as wisdom. This is deeply significant, because Proverbs 4 verse 23 says, "Guard your heart above all else, for everything you do flows from it." When God is positioning you for marriage, He first teaches you how to steward your own heart, because a person who cannot protect their own peace cannot build a home of peace with someone else. Your standards are not too high, they are holy. Number 6. Random strangers and new acquaintances keep assuming you are already married or in a relationship. This might make you laugh, but stay with it. People at work, at church, in casual conversation keep saying things like, "I assumed you had a partner," or "You seem like the type who settled down." They see something in you, a groundedness, a warmth, a maturity, that reads as someone who has already stepped into that season. And they are not wrong to see it, they are just ahead of the calendar. What they are perceiving is the spiritual readiness that God has been building in you, a completeness that radiates even before the person arrives. Ruth carried that quality before Boaz ever noticed her in the field. She was not performing availability, she was simply walking in her character, and her character made her impossible to overlook. You carry something like that too, and people see it even when you don't. Number 7. You have started dreaming about a shared future. Not daydreaming as an escape, not fantasy as a coping mechanism, but a deep, sober, spirit-led vision of what your life could look like with the right person beside you. You think about building something together, a home, a mission, a legacy, a family that reflects God's glory. You think about what kind of parent you want to be and what kind of spouse you want to become. You are no longer just hoping for someone to show up. You are actively becoming the person that person needs. Habakkuk 2 verse 2 says, "Write the vision and make it plain, for it is yet for an appointed time." When God gives you a vision this clear, this grounded, and this God-centered, He is not teasing you with something He has no intention of fulfilling. A vision that persistent, that specific, and that holy did not come from you. It came from Him, and what comes from Him always comes to pass. None of these signs are coincidences you stumbled into. They are coordinates. Together, they are pointing to a destination that God has already mapped out, and you are already on the road. The waiting has not been idle time. It has been the most important work of your life, happening in the most invisible places of your character. What God is building in you right now is not just for you. It is for someone who is also being built, somewhere, right now, wondering the same things you've been wondering. Trust the architect. He has never designed something He did not also complete. Your part is not to manufacture the outcome. Your part is to stay ready, stay faithful, and keep walking. If this touched something real in your life, share it right now with someone you know who's been waiting and wondering. Subscribe to this channel because every single week, there is something here that your spirit needs to hear. And drop a comment below. Tell me which sign confirms something you already felt in your gut, because your words might be the exact thing that keeps someone else from giving up on what God promised them. See you in the next one. God bless you.